Hey there, my name is Steph, and I'm the founder and executive director of Body Banter, which is a local charity in Hong Kong that empowers young people in conversations about body image and mental health. I think that oftentimes, especially as a kid growing up in Hong Kong, it's easy to feel like grades are defining of your self-worth, and that if you don't get a certain grade, perhaps that is expected of you from yourself or your peers or your teachers or your parents, that it's the end of the world. And without minimizing the stress that this kind of pressure brings, I just wanted to remind you that grades don't define you, and that, sometimes I look back at my high school self, and I just think about how all-consuming grades seemed, and how all-consuming academic pressures and homework and getting ideal outcomes in our academics, how all-consuming it feels for us in the moment. But then think about how you might look back at a childhood experience. For example, when you were a kid, you might have put great importance into, let's say, if someone took your toy or your toy car or your toy Barbie or whatever your favorite stuffed animal was. And at the time, it might have seemed like a very big deal, but then when you look back again, it kind of becomes an interesting memory, something that you've learned from, something that you've grown from. And I think that, it comes into two parts. The first is to validate the fact that you feel really stressed about the grades that you might be getting or not getting. Validate that. Acknowledge that this is a stressor that's bothering you a lot. And also think about yourself in the distance, in the future. What might that future version of yourself have experienced that could give you wisdom into the moment that you're experiencing now? Perhaps the exam pressures feel a little smaller when you think about yourself in the future, all the other things that make up the colorful aspects of your life. It's really tough to see your friend being ostracized or bullied at school. And I remember that when I was younger, I personally experienced bullying. I was once the bully, and I've watched my friends being bullied. So I know that this particular experience can be, I can see this particular experience from different angles. But I think just speaking to what you can do when your friend is being ostracized or being bullied, the first is actually just to do your best to be a good friend to this person without overstretching your own limits. I wanted to emphasize that supporting someone else who's in distress or who's struggling can be very draining for yourself as well. So, first and foremost, I think even as you support your friend, show them your care and support and remind them that they're loved and that you want them around, that you want them to engage in the social activities that you plan. As you do that, also make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And if you feel like it's getting a bit too heavy for you, that perhaps if this friend is disclosing certain experiences that you don't feel like you can handle on your own, make sure that you reach out to either other friends for support, maybe family members, trusted teachers, and mental health professionals at your school, so that your friend can actually be comprehensively supported. I think this is a difficult one for many young people, especially if you've grown up in Hong Kong. I remember that I struggled a lot with my mental health in my final years of high school, particularly. And I similarly felt that it was difficult to express my emotions because growing up, I rarely had any kinds of conversations about my emotions, even though I grew up in a really caring family. First of all, just wanted to say that it's very understandable why you might feel uncomfortable expressing your emotions if you've grown up in Hong Kong, or if you've grown up in a particular context that makes it feel embarrassing or shameful to express your emotions openly. So my tip, and something that I've personally done in my life, is actually to start exploring other people's stories. And you can do this through reading books about other people's experiences with mental health struggles. There are some great ones out there. I also recently wrote a book that's called Big Bites Break Boundaries, and it's about my own experiences with struggling with an eating disorder in my teens. So books, YouTube videos, those are a little tricky just because sometimes, people might share information that could be triggering for you. But I've found personally that listening to other people's stories and reading other people's stories gave me some ideas for how I could start expressing myself as well. Another thing about hearing other people's stories is that it can help you feel less alone and feel less embarrassed to share experiences that you might have previously felt only affected you. But as you read more stories, you hear more stories, you start to realize that that's not the case, and that can be something that can be very comforting as well. I think comparison is such a natural human tendency, and in some cases it can be a positive thing. It can be a very positive thing to say, oh, actually, let's say this particular person I admire has done this particular thing, and I really want to work towards that, to strive towards that. So I think, first of all, to think about comparison, it's not always a negative thing, but of course, I think in the Hong Kong context, especially where there's a lot of competition, and comparison can become something that is very psychologically discouraging. It can make you feel really bad about yourself because you feel like you're not living up to certain expectations or certain standards that other people are able to live up to. The first thing I try to do is to acknowledge and emphasize to myself what my particular unique I would say talents, but also just contributions are. And particularly what I try to do is to bring out contributions that might be, kind of a little bit silly, if I may put it that way. So I might say, my giggles make other people laugh as well. It's just something that's not really an outcome or goal-oriented contribution, but it's just something that I uniquely bring to the table, that uniquely adds to the lives of people I care about. It's fun to do something for myself, to remind myself that I'm a lot more than just these societal expectations, that I give back to my communities in ways that are diverse and colorful. Thanks so much for being here and hearing my stories today. And if you feel like you'd really benefit from speaking to a mental health professional and getting more support, you can call 2382-0000, which is the hotline for SPS. All right, all the best, sending lots of love.